Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, let me start with an advertorial. If you look in the program, you will see that the theme of my presentation is to talk about EIA in the Netherlands, which I will, but not today. That's my presentation tomorrow. So you're all invited. That was the advertorial. Thank you very much. Secondly, I heard a professor who was very good in presentation say recently, you know, the art of doing an effective presentation is to first say what you're going to say, then say it, and after you have said it, explain what you just said. And if you do all of that, there is a slight chance that the audience might remember 1% of what you said. Now, this is a very good introduction for me because Wes actually forced me this morning to give you the bulk of my presentation already. So basically, I could give you 10 minutes, chair, just shut up and say, well, I already said it. But of course, people that know me say that whenever I stand up here, no way that you can get me off here before my 10 minutes have been gone. But what I will do, though, is I will give a little bit more detail on where this discussion in Aalborg on guidance and practice in using SCA for climate issue in developing countries is coming from. I will again go very quickly to some of the conclusions in Aalborg, really to remind you of what I said this morning, but more importantly, because these are not definitive conclusions. These are something we thought, the 30, 35 people in Aalborg, and then let's see if you would agree. And also I will expand a little bit more on one issue that I didn't expand a lot on this morning, so that's what I will do. Now, having said that, I am extremely bad in standing still. And here I have to stand still. So I hope that this walking microphone is working, and I will stand there up front so I can move a little bit, if that's okay. I hope it works. Also, the good news is that I'm here. It's less sort of professorial thing that I'm somewhere up there. I'm just in the middle of you. It works. There you go. All right. As I said this morning, the overall objective of the two meetings, the two 1.5 hour meetings we had in Aalborg, were on guidance on climate tools. And basically, the question was, if you are an EIA, because Aalborg was EIA and SCA, and by the way, Peter, my institution is doing as much EIA as SCA, so I noticed that you only refer to SCA, but we also do EIA. It might come as a surprise. Aalborg was about EIA and SCA. If you're a practitioner in a developing country, and we have convinced you that climate change, mitigation, adaptation should be an important part in the EIA-SCA. And if you then ask, yeah, but could you please help me? How do you do that? Can we answer that? Is the current guidance that's there, is it enough? Should there be new guidance? Should there be guidance on these guidance? Is there something we can do for those practitioners? That was the key issue. And we discussed more specifically 4 issues. What do we think practitioners need? And some of you might even be practitioners, so you can tell us. Secondly, do we already have it, or do we have to come up with something new? Thirdly, is there confusion right now? Is there something we should do about streamlining? Or maybe is there confusion, so we should harmonize a little bit, all that guidance that's there? And finally, what's the role IA could play? Which I would like to expand for today. What is the role that the SCA task team could play if we're talking about SCA guidance? Now, where is this discussion coming from? Because it doesn't come out of the blue. There are 2 reasons why my institute took the initiative to organize, with Matt Cashmore, by the way, we did it together, to organize these 2 sessions. And these relate to 2 recent developments. First of all, my institution is working with developing countries in strengthening their EIA and SCA systems. And of course, more and more, we're discussing with those countries the need to integrate climate issues, the opportunities that SCA gives for that, and more they start asking for guidance. Could you just send some stuff over that we can look at, and then that would be helpful. So there is a need, and questions are asked. So we started doing a first survey of ourselves. What kind of case studies do we have? What kind of guidance is available? What do we think of it? That was one driving force for these sessions. The second one was that I personally have been involved over the last couple of years in preparing a couple of guides. One of them, of course, is the guidance by this task team. It's this one, SCA and Adaptation to Climate Change. Also recently, my institution has been involved in this one. It's published last month. I will give you my website at the end of the presentation so you can download it there. It's called Climate Change in Water Management. And this is trying to give an overview of all the tools, methods and approaches that are available to integrate climate change adaptation in the water sector. And then, a couple of weeks ago, I was invited by the OECD DAC EPOC Climate Task Team to be part of a discussion about a recent survey they did that looked remarkably a lot like this one, which is to give a survey, an overview of all the available guides and approaches to mainstream climate change. And actually, I just understood from Jesse that even IIED is now involved in making that sort of inventories, like what are the tools, the adaptation tools that are available out there, and what can we do with it? So there is many developments are going on now that raise questions like, are they overlapping? Are they complementary? Do they work together or do they confuse? So that was the real reason why we actually got into that discussion.